would be clearly established, that then all the nations of the earth who had exaggerated or detracted from his true status would become greatly ashamed of their error. That in the same age when this fact would be established, people would see Jesus' metaphorical descent to the earth, that is, in those very days the promised Messiah who would come in the power and spirit of Jesus would appear with all the lustrous signs and heavenly support and with the power and glory which would be recognized. The verse, further explained, means that God's destiny has made the personality of Jesus and fashioned the events of his life so as to cause some people to exaggerate and others to minimize his status. That is, there are people who have taken him out of the category of human beings, so much so that they say that he has not yet died and is sitting alive in heaven. The people who have outrun these are those who say that, having died on the cross and come to life again, he has gone up to heaven and become invested with all the powers of divinity. Nay, he is God himself. The other people are the Jews, who say that he was killed on the cross, and therefore, I take refuge with God for saying so, he is accursed for all time. He is doomed to be the object of perpetual wrath. God is displeased with him, and looks upon him as a hated enemy. That he is a liar and an impostor, and, I take refuge with God for saying so, a kafir, a rank unbeliever, that he is not from God. This exaggeration and detraction were so unjust that it could not but be that God should clear his true prophet of these charges. The verse of the gospel mentioned before points to this fact. The statement that all the tribes of the earth would mourn suggests that all those tribes to whom the description underlying the word nation applies would mourn on that day. They would beat their breasts and cry, and great would be their mourning. Here Christians should follow the verse in question with some attention. They should consider that when the verse contains the prophecy that all the nations would beat their breasts, how is it that they should have nothing to do with this mourning? Are they not a nation? When, in accordance with this verse, they are included among those who are the beaters of breasts, why do they not attend to their salvation? The verse clearly says that when the sign of Jesus would appear in heaven, all the nations inhabiting the earth would mourn. So the man who says that his tribe would not mourn denies Jesus. The people, however, who are yet small in number cannot have been the people hinted at in the prophecy. They are not fit to be described as a nation, and that people or tribe are we. Nay, ours is the only community which is outside the meaning and scope of this prophecy, for this community has yet only a few adherents to whom the word nation or tribe cannot be applied. Jesus, on the authority of divine inspiration, says that when a sign appears in the heavens, all the people of the world who, on account of their numbers, would deserve to be described as a tribe or nation, would beat their breasts. There would be no exception but a people small in number to whom the word nation would not apply. Neither Christians, nor Muslims, nor Jews, nor yet any other denier can keep out of this prophecy. Our Jamaat alone is outside its scope, for they have just been sown as a seed by God. The word of a prophet can never fail. When the words contain the clear hint that every nation inhabiting the world would mourn, which of these people can claim to be outside their scope? Jesus admits of no exception in this verse. The group, however, which has not yet attained the size of a tribe or a nation, is in any case an exception, namely our Jamaat. This prophecy has been clearly fulfilled in this age, for the truth which has now been discovered regarding Jesus is undoubtedly the cause of the mourning of all these tribes, for it has exposed the errors of all. The hue and cry of Christians over the divinity of Jesus changes into sighs of grief. The insistence of Muslims day and night that Jesus has gone up to the skies alive changes into weeping and wailing, and as for the Jews, they lose everything. Here it is necessary to mention that in the statement contained in the said verse, namely, that at that time all the nations of the earth would beat their breasts, earth means the Balad-e-Sham, Palestine and Syria, with which these three peoples are connected: Jews, because that is their place of origin and their place of worship; Christians, because Jesus appeared in that place, and the first community of the Christian religion rose from that country; Muslims, because they are to be heirs to this land to the last days. If the word earth is taken to embrace all countries, even then there is no difficulty, for when the truth is laid bare, all deniers would be ashamed. Among the testimonies which have reached us through the Gospels is the statement set out below from the Gospel of Matthew. Quote, "And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his," namely Jesus', "resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many." Matthew 27:52. There is not the slightest doubt that the story mentioned in the Gospel, namely, that after the resurrection of Jesus the saints came out of the graves and appeared alive to many, is not based on historical fact. For, if it had been so, the judgment day would have been enacted in this very world, and that which had been kept secret as a test of faith and sincerity would have been made manifest to all. Faith would not have been faith, and in the sight of every believer and denier, the nature of the next world would have become an evident and a patent fact, just as the existence of the moon, the sun, and the alternation of day and night is an evident fact. In that case, faith would not have been a valued and a valuable thing, such as could have merited any kind of reward. If the people and past prophets of Israel, whose number is millions, had really been brought to life at the time of the crucifixion and had come to the city alive, and if this miracle, that hundreds of prophets and many hundred thousands of saints were all brought to life at the same time, was really shown in proof of the truth and divinity of Jesus, the Jews had an excellent opportunity to inquire of the prophets brought back to life, and of the other saints, as well as their own deceased ancestors, whether Jesus, who claimed to be God, was really God, or whether he had only lied. They probably did not lose this opportunity. They must have inquired about Jesus, for they were very keen to inquire from the dead if they could be restored to life. When, therefore, hundreds of thousands of the dead were restored to life, and came to the city, and thousands of them repaired to each quarter thereof, how could the Jews let go an opportunity like this? They must have inquired not from one or two, but from thousands, and when the dead entered their respective houses, there must have been great excitement in every house, for many 100,000 of them had been restored to the world. In every house there must have been great talk, and everybody must have been questioning the dead as to whether they knew that the man who called himself Jesus, the Messiah, was really God. But because the Jews did not believe in Jesus, as could be expected, nor did their hearts soften, rather did they become confirmed in their hard-heartedness, it appears probably that the dead did not speak a favorable word for them. They must have given without hesitation the reply that this man was making a false claim to godhood, and was uttering a lie against God. That was why the Jews did not desist from mischief, in spite of hundreds of thousands of prophets and apostles being restored to life. Having killed Jesus, so to say, they attempted to kill others. How can one believe that hundreds of thousands of saints who, from the time of Adam up to the time of John the Baptist, had been lying in their graves in that blessed earth, should all be brought back to life, that they should all come to the city to preach, and every one of them should stand up and bear witness before thousands of people that Jesus the Messiah was really the Son of God, no, God himself, that only he should be worshipped, that the people should renounce their former beliefs, otherwise they would go to hell.